Hi, everybody. So we have a very unique treat today. So the creator of FLOWpresso, Desiree De Spong from New Zealand, is finally telling her story of how she created and why she created FLOWpresso and what it's really about. So I know you've heard me talk about it quite a bit, but this entire show is dedicated to the flow and how the flow got here and the creator of it. She's one of my all-time favorite people on the planet. I'm certainly connected to her. And if you do watch this on the video, it does look like we're twins, but we're not. But I do want you to, if you have the time to, I know it's a little bit of a longer one, but watch it till the very end because the wisdom that comes out of this woman at the end is just pure, authentic, and appropriate for everybody in the day and age of which we live. And I pray that you all find the inner peace of which we are helping you gain with a FLOWpresso and many other ways you can do this at home. So we look forward to seeing you and watching this episode and hearing all about your experiences as you get into opening your heart. We'll see you soon. Enjoy this one with Desiree De Spong. With Kelly Kennedy, and from our heart to yours, this is the nearest and dearest podcast outside of, I think, probably my husband that I get to interview, one of my best friends and colleagues. And I swear to God, we did not call each other, but this is how Twinny and I work today. This is how it goes since I've met her almost a decade ago. We plan on doing this podcast. We're basically wearing the same outfit. And Desiree De Spong is just that. She's completely connected, and she is here to help you learn how you can be connected with the amazing technology. And we're going to hear her story today and why you can all now fall in love with the Desiree De Spong that I fell in love with, and understand why she's created such an amazing technology to help us all to be in a place of connectedness and to be in our heart center, which is one of my greatest teachers, mentors, colleagues, Desiree De Spong, the creator of FLOWpresso. Welcome, Desiree.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And we've had an amazing friendship and journey for a long time, really, haven't we? Even down to color coordinating. That's amazing.
She gives me this beautiful punami a couple years ago. That's the Heartstone from New Zealand. It's very hard. Literally, I hit my forehead with it every so often. And it's very, very hard, just like she has taught me to be in a soft way to be hard yet, to keep my heart open. And she's wearing her beautiful punami today as well. And we have on our green and our black. And green is the color of the heart chakra, which, we're both administrators of Sound of Soul as well. And we're all about that. So, but Desiree, explain to us a little bit. Some people are familiar with your story about how you got into lymphatics. But could you back up and tell a little bit about that, how you got here, and then how the story of, which kind of leads into the story of FLOWpresso and how that came to be. So let's hear the story of Desiree for the world to know.
Thank you. Well, this is the first time I've ever really shared this. So my former life, I call it, I was actually in IT and finance for the New Zealand Fire Service. So I was very logical based, and so to move into the health world was quite a different process. So I started studying in shiatsu. So I learned a lot about the Eastern philosophy, did 3 years diploma in that, and then moved into orthobionomy. So that's basically an osteopathic approach, but we don't crunch. And in that, I learned about lymphatics. And, I'm a little bit like you, Kelly. You sit in a class and you learn and go, yeah, I can't know that. But lymphatics was that moment where my light went on and went, there's something in this we're not even considering. So long story short, I started looking around the world and ended up in the United States learning. And I learned under a couple of gentlemen there that we used a technology that was actually developed in the United States. And within a couple of years, I wanted to teach and approached the company in relation to that, and they agreed. And so I then started doing my international teaching, and that's how we met. Yes. And so this has been, I don't know, about 15, 18 years now in the field of lymphology. I've been to many conferences. I was always the left field person because I was always looking at from an Eastern philosophy or the orthobionomy philosophy. I just wasn't going fluid was just about draining a swollen arm or a leg. I was looking at it from the correlation to the immunity and lymphatics. So for me, it was more about understanding it on such a bigger level than what we're often taught in a lot of these trainings. So for example, 70% of your immune system's in your gut, so why wouldn't you work the gut? And so that was sort of, quite challenging in a field of the medical lymphology to maneuver through them. I was kind of the one with the machine, and this different aspect of supporting kidney function, bowel function, and getting the flow from not just a physical sense, but from a point of view of the emotional aspect of it as well, of letting go. And so that's why all the training I was doing was opening up doors in many different biological and functional medicine clinics, and probably why I ended up in front of you from our blessed Marcy that brought us together. And so I've spent a lot of time looking at the lymphatics from many aspects, because, to me, we are a whole system, so in New Zealand here, the reason I gave you that, what's called New Zealand Greenstone, is that, we have a lot of philosophies here, and that's about bringing you to the heart of our country. So it was also to the heart of me. So we would always feel connected. And we have these Māori health models, which is our Indigenous people, and they call, Te Tapa Whā, which is a philosophy that there's 4 aspects of health. And so you look at it from a point of view of your physical body, your mental state of mind, your spirit, but also what we call whānau. Whānau is family, connectedness. It's the land that we're on, the people we're with. Now, whānau doesn't necessarily need to be family, but as in your biological family, it can be the family that you create. And so, I was looking at from many aspects of how the lymphatic system plays, that we're connected to the heart with lymphatics. So, and we're connected to the way the cell functions with lymphatics. So there was all this stuff going on in my mind. And then about 10 years ago, I was under a massive amount of personal stress, and I was a primary earner for the family. I had 4 kids. It was a crazy time in my life. And I was at this conference, and a colleague of ours, Dr. Jeff Drobot, came up and tapped me on the shoulder, and he goes, I want you to come to my clinic. And I'm like, I'm sorry, who are you? Long story short, we go to his clinic. He wants to show me what they're doing, and from a lymphatic point of view, for me to feed back. So initially they took me through some testing because they wanted to show what they did. So we did a CRT, which is computerized regulatory thermography, which you are aware of, and HRV, so heart rate variability. And the consultant became the consultant, because all of a sudden I was living in the world of realizing that I had hit a wall, that I was on the verge of chronic fatigue. I had high breast cancer terrain. I was very unwell. I had the hormones of a 70-year-old, and I was about 40 at the time. So my world sort of imploded, and unfortunately I had to go back to New Zealand. I didn't have this incredible option to stay with Jeff and work through what their facilities. He sort of threw me into some of them, but sent me back with a whole lot of things I could do myself. But in New Zealand, certainly back then, we didn't have the availability like you guys do in the US. So one of the things I had to do was, he asked me to pull the pin on everything. I had to still work because, I had to keep the money coming in, but I was to stop all exercise, everything. And wow, did I hit the wall. It was like going from a high energizer bunny, which everyone used to get tired watching me do a day, to all of a sudden barely being able to get out of bed. And then it sort of made me realize this relationship with the autonomic nervous system, and how I had normalized my stress to a point that my body had been able to regulate it for quite a while, until reality hit that I was actually not okay. And so, I had to do all these different things from, I had a diaphragm release, which, oh my God, that was the most painful experience I've ever had by a physio friend of mine, right through to, learning how to regulate my life to a point that I could manage. But clearly didn't do it well, because the universe decided that I needed an electric shock to bolt me back into my heart, because that was the next challenge I received, and that threw my regulation of my heart out, the electricity of it. I was blacking out on planes. I was I had a resting heart rate of 100. It was just a crazy time. I didn't know how to do that. My diastolic, which is the relaxing of the heart, would just drop all of a sudden. I'd be in the middle of clinic trying to work with someone, and then I'd be starting to go like I'd want to black out. So, it was a crazy time. And here's me, a health practitioner that really should have known better. But it's life. This is what we do. We start to end up in a situation where life's not working, and we create this ability to normalize it. And I started seeing it with cancer. And they're the reason my clients that I kept going was I got out of bed every day knowing that someone else was more challenged than I. And it started letting me look at things differently.
At the time, you were really focused on dealing with a lot of breast cancer patients, and you had really taken that on. And your story is amazing. I just want to interrupt real quick and say that, Desiree is always behind the scenes. She's doing all the research. She's figuring out for clients, for doctors, for practitioners, what else can we be doing? Because she does see the body in a whole picture. She doesn't segment it. And that's one of the things that when we started work together, I had looked at the lymph as part of the whole body, but nobody was really teaching the lymphatics. And then I got into Des's class and I was like, oh, she's not just teaching lymphatics, she's teaching the emotional component about letting go and how this relates to our kidneys, like she's saying, and all these interrelations. And yet, as she's disseminating that information, we are still stuck in our own place sometimes and go, oh, I need this therapy, I need this care. And to the point where the nervous system was shocking her. She was literally, I don't think that people understand that you were feeling like you were having electrodes, like the defibrillator shock you, and it was knocking her back. This was not a subtle, she's saying that other people were suffering more than she was, but I'm telling you, she was suffering. It was as though she could drop dead of a heart attack at any moment in time during this time. It was very stressful for her. And again, she was the mother of 4, and the only breadwinner in the family. So she had to make decisions that were hard, no doubt about it. But she had to remain true and authentic to herself and to what the bigger picture she saw. And so enter the rest of Des's story, where she brings that light, that heart of hers out for all of us. I'm going to cry. Just everybody knows that. I'm going to cry during this because there's such a connection here to her story and my passion and her passion and why we want to get this message out. So I'll get it together while she talks.
Yeah, thanks. So then I started to see, just observing clients, because of my own experience, I started to see that people were living in like a survival state. And I thought they had to change. We have to find a way where the body can re-regulate, can find a new normal, whatever normal is, but different to what you were playing out. Because as you said, logically, we know this isn't working for us. We know that the path that we're on is actually destroying us, but we physically or emotionally or spiritually, I'm not sure, it might be all three, doesn't allow us to actually take that first step to step away from what we've created as our normal. And so, observing people going in and out of the state, or, people with, when they were able to really recenter, that this took a lot of work, an awful lot of work. I know it took me like 2 years to bring some regulation back into my heart, to stop it flipping. But more importantly, that was then I still had to work on the autonomic nervous system. That was another level. So one of the things that I started to look at was how the lymphatic system affects someone when we work with it. So we started to, I started to see how people were all of a sudden like drifting in and out, like they all of a sudden started to change, like their persona changed, their emotional state changed, they just softened. And you see that in massage too, absolutely, but there was just something different. And then about 2 years ago, a colleague of mine said something about, well, there's these compression suits, what do you think about them? And I thought, oh, well, I'll have a look. So, in my usual fashion and research ways, I pulled in a number of different ones, and I started to see what everyone was doing in the world. So, there's like your Normatec that you use for sport, and, there's other ones like pneumatic pumps they use in the hospitals, and there was all these different ones. So I just thought, well, I'll test a few out. And, one of the things in Eastern is it's very much about warming the core of your heat up, like warming, they call it getting the fire back in your belly. And, so I'd been working with heat a lot anyway in lymphatics. I wanted to see, it's kind of a no-no for lymphedema, but I was actually finding, applied in a certain way, you could change the presentation of the lymphatics in sense of the way the skin, so, it wasn't as pitted, or it wasn't as thickened, it was starting to shift what was happening in the tissue. So with a few of these units, some of them were hilarious. Like one, you would have looked like a Michelin man. I had to strap you in and literally chuck you up on the table. It was quite funny, cables everywhere. But anyway, I spent a bit of time looking, and one of the things when we finally got a prototype ready to go, which, Kelly obviously was one of the ones that got to play with this thing, as we started to do more studies on it, because we were seeing changes in the way people felt. And so one of the greatest breakthroughs was using our Nerve Express, so the heart rate variability, and finding that they were actually switching out of sympathetic to parasympathetic. And it was like, wow, really? And then I remember sending it to Dr. Jeff Drobot, and he says, nah, you're doing this wrong. You're doing the testing wrong. You can't be getting this. And I'm like, you don't ever tell me you can't do something, because I'm back and, I love to try and prove wrong. It's part of my personality. And so I went back and restudied more, and we came out with the same response. So that's when we decided to bring 3 units to the States, and obviously Kelly was one. And I'll never forget that day when I was flying out as in Los Angeles airport, and I was about to go through customs, and you sent me that woman who had Lyme's, and you had sent her testimonial video to me. And she was crying because she had never felt so good for so long. And I'm in the middle of Los Angeles airport, tears running down my eyes, going, oh my God, this is so cool. I might have actually created something that I wish I had 10 years ago. So we went back to the drawing board though, because, with anything, you've got to get it perfect. And in the sense of we were having a few different issues, as you know, and then we started with the new development of our unit by October, and then of course we launched in February, and I think we've got the Rolls Royce now, as opposed to the Mini of what was the prototype. It played its purpose for us to learn a lot, but we've been doing a lot of research here in New Zealand. We've done like frontline people, high-end stress, also through to, down to cardiac and all the rest. So even though this started out as a lymphatic focus, it actually switched me into a whole nother level of working with sympathetic, parasympathetic, and understanding the difference. I mean, one guy last night, I had him in the clinic, and he'd only had 2 sessions, and he came in because he was highly stressed, not sleeping. And he said, Desiree, it's like I've got a new piece. And I was just like, wow, this is so cool. Because if we can allow someone to actually find that again, know what that even is, then that's where I see with the sympathetic, parasympathetic, we're starting to get that regulation in the human physiology, because we will regulate the crazy. We will try to accommodate it, as you know, but if we can be shown a different way. Now in New Zealand, part of that model I was talking about, we talk about the wairua, so the spiritual aspect of life. And I think a lot of people disconnect. They disconnect from their body to cope with life, or disconnect from their spirit or their heart to cope with life, because you have to feel when you're connected. And I think so many people just have a moment in that suit where they regulate, reconnect, and then have an awareness, and they come out in a different place. And that's where I'm seeing the magic. And I'm just, I don't think I'll ever run out of wanting to see what's happening for people. Like, it's just so emotional some days at the results. Like, we're this high-end frontline group that we're dealing with, we're watching these guys go in stock standard, full on, armored up in the sense of how they cope with life, to coming out like teddy bears. And it's just so lovely, and they're sleeping better and they're coping better. And I just think that is the most phenomenal thing for me. But then the great thing is as you know, in clinic, when we can start to regulate someone, so we get their body understanding what is okay and what's not, and am I functioning correctly and am I not, and am I stressed or am I not, and am I resting and repairing, and all of a sudden the body can start healing, right?
you know, she makes me speechless because she says it all. Like, I don't know what else I can add to all of that. But yes, I mean, the reality is, for those that don't know what sympathetic and parasympathetic means, it's fight, flight mode, it's rest, recover mode. And the sympathetic mode is, again, where most of us live. And what Desiree said is so powerful, that it took her 2 years of work. And it's a lot of hard work. Often, it used to be, before FLOWpresso, to get people to go into that parasympathetic state. And Jeff Drobot and ourselves, we've all taken a lot of the similar classes. We have a lot of the similar training. I've known Jeff for almost 2 decades. And he's an incredible doctor. And what he does at his clinics is he gets people to go to the parasympathetic. And what we do at our center is get people to go to the parasympathetic. And yet it was a challenge. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of our hands. It was a lot of other machines like saunas and salt chambers and different things to help get that body to go into that. And still, they might get a little shift for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and they might feel a little more peaceful. And then she sends me the FLOWpresso, and I come down. The prototype was good. I called it chocolate cake. It was good. Second one, we get it. I said, Ian, let's do it at house first, because I don't like to do it at the center and then be all, you know, however I'm going to feel. I just want to know how I'm going to feel. So I do it. I come down the steps. I take myself out of it after it dings after 40 minutes and it's done. And I'm walking down the steps. I'm barely walking. I'm like barely awake. And I'm headed towards the refrigerator. And Ian's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm so relaxed. I need some raspberries or something, because it's only 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I don't think I've ever been this awake and relaxed at the same time. And I have a bit of an addictive personality, and I've always been afraid to do certain things in my life because I know I'll get addicted to them. And FLOWpresso, thank God, is one of the things that I'm addicted to. Like, I need it. I crave it. I crave that peace, that stillness, that FLOWpresso gives me. And because of it, I've allowed myself essentially to take on new therapies, to take on new clients, that I'm able to help in a different way because I'm in more relaxed state. And then I help them with FLOWpresso and all the other things that we do. And the amount of clients that have said to me, I feel more like myself. I didn't know I could feel this normal. I didn't know I could be this at peace. I haven't felt this good in years. It's empowering, astounding, inspiring, enlightening, encouraging. And I think about coronavirus and everything that you said that we're all dealing with for the last 6 months, 8 months, whatever it's been. And it's that disconnectedness that we've all felt. Coronavirus has kind of forced us to connect in to the life that we live, correct?
Yes.
And it's been a shock for some of us. It's been glorious for some of us. And the reality is, the gift of Corona has been to disconnect from the fast-paced rat race to find out what's really important in life and what is more important than connecting to the people that we love and staying connected to us more than anything. And that's where the immune system is enhanced, not when we're stressed, but when we're connected. And this parasympathetic system that Desiree is talking about is the immune system. If you can identify an immune system, it's when the body is in that mode of parasympathetic, when it's digesting, resting, recovering, relaxing, it's doing all that it needs to do, and we're supporting it. And if you're a type of person that is stressed, that doesn't know how to relax, that doesn't know how to get into that Zen state, that doesn't know how to be in the be state instead of the do state, FLOWpresso is the answer. And we firmly believe this shouldn't just be at clinics. This should be in every home, that every night before you go to bed or every other night, you do this to have a more balanced state, to get rid of the day, to be ready for the next day. Whether you do it at night or in the morning, it doesn't matter. I use it both times. I use it a lot because it's amazing. And I can't talk about the benefits enough because I'm not a huge machine person. That's the one thing Dr. Drobot and I have contentially discussed for 10 years is, but can you really heal if you're not touching the person? Like, this is what gets me. And Desiree is very much like that. She's a touchy-feely, very much into the energy and the emotional body. I love Dr. Drobot very much. He's, you know, when I go to give him a hug, he's like, okay, Kelly, you can give me a hug, but I'm not really psyched about it, you know, but he is an incredible doctor and he knows the value of machines and he's used them a lot. FLOWpresso and Sound the Soul are the only two machines I've ever decided, like, I want to get this out there. I want to help people get this at their clinics, in their homes. However we can do this, let's get this out there. And the timing of the launch in February and this hitting in March was just another universal cosmic joke for Desiree and I, that when big things are about to happen, there's a communication shift because we know this is going to change the world. And we know that this is here to help everybody to get into that place of peace. And the price of peace, self-peace, is invaluable, truly invaluable, what you've created. And I pray that every person that benefits from it sends you a personal email and can tell you exactly how they feel, because the gratitude that I feel for what you've put together, it's ridiculous, because there's nothing that I've ever seen that forces somebody to go into parasympathetic like this does. And like in 5 to 10 minutes, like as I'm getting their settings together, I'm like, don't fall asleep on me yet. Hold on. We want to make sure that this is the right setting. And they're like drifting off. And the amount of people that I wake up who can't sleep, have trouble sleeping, I'm like, you've been in here for 40 minutes. You've been sleeping for 35. Let's get moving. And they're like, really? I was only in there for 35 minutes. I feel like you've left me for a week. Or they feel like it's 5 minutes, but it's this loss of sense of time that's beautiful. That's a true gift.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, it's interesting. I was in a conference the other day and they were saying that, you know, pre-COVID, the US, there was 59% of USA thought that they were in the worst position that they'd ever been. And then we had COVID. And prior to that, 3 of the biggest things that they identified was people didn't feel safe. They didn't feel like they belonged anymore, and their self-esteem was really being hammered. And so, you know, you think about that, that was pre-COVID, and then now we're in COVID, and, you know, we are wanting to have an opportunity to provide therapy for people. And I think one of the advantages about the suit is you are clothed, so we're not touching your skin. And I think, as you said, you know, it's really pulling us back to recenter and decide what's good for us, what isn't. And so can you hear me better?
Sound all of a sudden in the background, like somebody's typing or something.
Okay, sorry. I'll ask someone to stop typing.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. And too many people working around here. So long story short, so they found and identified that there was safety, belonging, and self-esteem were the big issues pre-COVID. And so now they've actually found that it's amplified. So, you know, for me, what happens for people in the suit is we've got this thing called deep pressure therapy that we've identified as probably very similar, which, to be honest, is just a bunch of hugs. And we use the analogy of, you know, we want you to make this feel like a hug, not a blood pressure, you know, cuff squeeze. So it's really interesting. If you know anything about the research on hugs, you know, it really does bring out the happy hormones, so your dopamine, serotonin, but it helps you feel connected again. It helps you feel like you belong. It allows you to reconnect. And when we're not touching at the moment, you know, it's such an important part for society. And so there's many factors, I think that's why this is doing so well, is that, you know, we're being denied connection with people. We're being denied lots of touch. We are, you know, we're so thrown, like they talk about this year being 2020 vision. It's about defining what is working, as we said earlier, what isn't. And I just think being wrapped up, held, warm, cared for, where you get to just be in that moment of time. And so many people drift in and out of like a meditative state. Some people have spiritual experiences. Some people just feel a sense of peace. Or like I had a guy in the other day, it's his 3rd session, and he goes, wow, am I having an awareness to my body? I've just found an injury that I had 20 years ago. Bringing someone back. And, you know, we're living in a world right now that has been so judgmental. You know, uniqueness wasn't something that was embraced. And I think now this is the time where we get to be unique as an individual within a community. And I think allowing someone to re-identify what their uniqueness is an absolute blessing right now, because, you know, for me to, I love that Avatar movie where they say, I see you.
Mhm.
And to me, when you can allow someone to be themselves and be seen for who they want to be, not what society decided or is deciding, or, you know, your belief systems or what you grew up thinking you had to be. I think it's the greatest gift in the world. And it's not working for everyone to that degree, but a lot of people step out and just go, I feel different, but I can't explain why. And they don't need to, because that's the magic already happening.
Well, and that's the beauty of meeting yourself wherever you're at, right? I mean, that's the point. When they get connected, it's where they're at, and they start to feel, whether it's the physical stuff, the emotional stuff, the spiritual stuff. You and I have a different experience because of the work we did prior to get on the suit, but the person who has no idea what biological alternative therapies are, complementary therapies, your big burly front line, you know, I don't want to give too much away, so I don't know what I can say, what I can't say, so I'm speaking in tongues, but, you know, the people in your country that are on the front lines using the suit, that are big burly people, that are the first line of defense often in a city,
Yes.
right? They're using the suit. They don't know anything about alternative medicine. They don't know anything about energy necessarily. And yet, I've seen their HRVs, their heart rate variability expresses. I've seen a shift in them. And based upon our conversations and what's happening, they might not understand at the level that perhaps we do, or some of you listening understand what's going on. But the reality is, by just connecting, they start to feel better. And now they're more open to going down a different road, and more open because they feel the difference. You know, this is, for the world that I live in this country, and with the medicine that we employ, even though we're not medical doctors, it's a paradigm of medicine that we educate people on. And it's often hit with resistance because people don't know if it works.
Mm-hmm.
And with FLOWpresso, there's no way that you can't know it, for you to know if it doesn't work. I mean, you got to sit in the suit, and there's no way you can dispute that it works. That's my point. You get in that suit, you get out of that suit, and you're like, I feel different. Like, there's just no denying that, because of what it does. And that's what I know Dr. Drobot and I saw on the heart rate variability. And I felt the same way. Like, I don't know, Desiree, that was just one session you did that on? You got such a shift in the parasympathetics. I mean, I don't know. We've done a lot of different therapies, and I've never seen somebody shift so drastically from one therapy. And when that person gets into that parasympathetic mode, that's the only thing that heals. So yes, maybe the surgery will remove something, but now the body's got to remedy that and heal that surgery or that ailment or whatever. And the parasympathetic system does that, and engaging that system. And then, so it's funny because the journey started as, it's about lymph, and then it was like, no, it's about people getting into the rest, recover. And then it was like, no, it's really about bringing them into that center, into that connection. And I have light years of gratitude for that, for my connection to you, and being able to bring this to the world to help them connect with themselves. The fear that people are living under is atrocious. And those statistics that you gave me, I know that they're true because I live in this world, and I know how people feel. And I know that's how I grew up, feeling fearful that I didn't know if I was going to get it. This was cancer at the time. I didn't know how I could not get it. And I didn't know if I got it, if I was going to die. My father had cancer multiple times, and we were scared to death of getting it. And when I started searching how I was going to handle health, and I ended up in this biological medicine world, for me, as soon as COVID hit, I was like, all right, I'm going to go do some vitamin C IVs. I'm going to do my FLOWpressos daily now because we're not working. This is exciting. And, you know, we get to like catch up with some work. Let's go. We got our stride. And that's not where most people are feeling. And
No.
we want to give that gift to you. We want you to have the confidence in your own immune system, in your own body. And you can do that by being in touch with yourselves. And whether it's FLOWpresso, and if it's not in your area, then we can help you get it in your area, or you can be the one that brings it to your area. But if not, there's other things that we're giving you to do. If you can't get to a center, there's lymphatic dry brushing done properly with a proper technique, and manual pumping done properly with a proper technique that can give you great access to this parasympathetic system to know that you got this, you can handle this, your body's got what's going on. And if you don't, through that kind of work, and you need a little assistance, then FLOWpresso can help you get there. Don't be surprised when you get addicted to it and you want to do it all the time. One of our employees' parents, they live an hour away. And Sarah kept talking about FLOWpresso to the point where mom was finally like, I'm going to go do FLOWpresso. So she drove down. Bottom line is mom and dad are now coming weekly as a team to do their FLOWpressos in both packages, because as great of, you know, their daughter's a great practitioner. She employs our flow technique. She does Thai massage. She's amazing. They cannot duplicate what that's doing. He's a sportman, so he's getting amazing recovery for his running. And she is a business owner who is running all the time, who has huge projects as an interior designer, running. And they're feeling the evidence of what FLOWpresso can do for them, whether they were feeling better or perhaps a little worse in the beginning, but they know that that's moving them into that place of, okay, I'm in touch with what's really going on. And you got to start there. You got to know where you start, because only there can you improve. Just like when Jeff tapped you on the shoulder and said, okay, enough. And you've done that to me. Let's talk about the amount of times you've done that to me, like this week maybe, where you're tapping me on the shoulder going, know thyself, listen to thyself, focus on thyself. And not in an egotistical way, in a what's connected, what makes you tick, what's your strength. And I'm so happy to see you in your strength and bringing that strength to all of us, because you are, and I'm so happy you were eager to do this today, because she's not one for being on camera. She's an amazing teacher, and I love when she's in front of the class teaching, and she is very much happy to have somebody else in front of the camera speaking and telling the story. But we really do feel that it's important for people to get to know you and to get to know the heart and the authenticity that brings FLOWpresso into this world, because this is not to be compared to any other compression suit out there. It's not about that. It's completely a different experience. That being said, in the last few minutes, I do want you to talk about the compression, the benefits of compression for a few minutes, because the hug is the key. But you also have two other technologies. I mean, for those that don't know about FLOWpresso, let's just go through a few minutes of, like, on a physical level, what makes it so powerful and physiologically engaging for that parasympathetic?
So, you know, you've got compression. So it's, we have a couple of different modes in there. So we have the sequential, which is kind of compressed, and as it's about to release, it comes in. And we've got all these chambers. So you've got 2 in the feet, and then you've got 4 in the legs, 2 in the abdomen, and then you've got 2 in the arms. And then we have a back piece that's designed to bring an awareness to the tension in the shoulders. So, you know, that's the compression going on. So the compression's designed to move, to help the body move stuff. So whether you want to consider that from an anatomical point of view, where you might go lymph and blood and all the rest, but, you know, we know if we don't move, you know, we call it the couch potato in New Zealand, you're not moving the body's toxins, so you're not getting stuff out of the system. And that's where compression is known, like they're using it in sports outfits now and everything. Like, it's become a really good understanding about how effective it is about just getting the body to move its stuff. And then far infrared heat, there's lots of research around that now. Like, you know, a lot of people do the sauna, but a lot of people don't like getting in and getting hot and sweaty. But, you know, for me, from my Eastern training, it was about getting deep driving heat into the body to warm the core up. I mean, they've done studies where they found if you were just 1 degree Celsius, which I think is about 3 or 4 Fahrenheit in the US, that reduces your immune system by 36%. So it's massive, you know, and so heat's about getting circulation again, getting that vitality moving, getting that core temp. And it's really interesting. We see that, like, I know we get really hot here in our summers and that, and sometimes we have to take the heat off arms and the legs, and we just keep driving it into the abdomen. But, you know, I've had people that have had back pain get out and have no back pain, or hip pain and have no hip pain, because, you know, we're driving this warmth in and then adding compression. And so you've got this fascia, right, which is like I always say the pith of the orange that surrounds our whole body, and it gets so rigid. And of course, our lymphatic vessels sit under that. And so if you've got rigidity, which they say, what, about 80 to 85% of back pain is fascia related, you're not going to get that glide. And again, the movements, this is all about moving you in a way that allows you to flow and glide through life. And then we have a specially designed technology that's placed on the back of the neck, and that's very similar to pulse, PEMS, so your pulsed, I can never say it, is an electromagnetic field,
Electromagnetic fields,
your
yes.
frequencies. And so this is designed for a number of reasons. We got this from actually a guy in the United States, and we asked to use it because we actually found that it took a lot of tension out of the shoulder area and neck area. And of course, you've got your terminus, which is where lymph all meets, and then you've got cervical nodes up here. And then of course, now we finally know that we have, scientifically, that we have lymphatics. So we've kind of all known, because we've talked about draining the brain for years, but this is helping that to do that. But it also is frequencies, and science is teaching us we're 99% frequency, 1% matter, right? So we know that our organs have different frequencies, everything has an energy. So if you understand that, then you can get your head around a little bit around the logic of it, because if we can bring you into let's use a normal frequency or a healthy frequency, then the body is going to be able to let go, and it's going to be able to restore and repair. But it also helps you emotionally, because you just feel like you're at this different vibration. You're feeling lighter. A lot of people say to us, I feel lighter when they come out. And, we haven't reduced a whole heap of fluid or done that then. I mean, they might pee a bit later or, that kind of thing. But they just have this, like they've lifted, like their energy's lifted. And, I always think of Dr. Joe Dispenza, he always talks about this, kind of thing, that if we're thinking an issue, we're creating an issue, our body's reacting to the issue. So if we can calm the energy of someone down, then of course that's going to make a big difference. So, and if we just want to bring it back to basics of what this unit's doing, if someone's going, I'm not into energy and I'm not into this, our results and our research has been phenomenal just on sleep, fatigue, and stress. Now you think of the world right now. The world, most people are stressed, most people aren't sleeping properly, and that brings fatigue, and fatigue is catastrophic from a mental point of view, a body point of view, and then over time that's going to bring illness. So, just from a basic fundamental, we've got a research fellow student started, so she'll be underway with her thesis, and we're going to be studying more around this so that we can publish this. But, just to bring it back, if I can sleep better, I feel better, I function better, and I can manage stress better. And I think, even just from that point of view, it's phenomenal. But that's basically the function of the unit. But a lot of people just come out and go, oh my God, I feel like I've been hugged all over, and as I said earlier, there is just hugs alone, the research on those, and deep pressure therapy is another one. It's phenomenal.
And yet you've combined them all to make this magical suit of, so many people have commented, I feel like I'm floating. I feel like that was the best massage I've ever had. I have one client that's like, I'm never getting a massage again. I'm only coming to do FLOWpressos. And as you said, during coronavirus, again, the timing, that's why I now have 3 centers in the East Coast that are using FLOWpresso that are under my guise, because during COVID, everybody was stressed, and it was 2 different dental offices where they're cracking teeth and the people are stressed and they're coming in for all this extreme dental care. And I'm like, but we got to do lymphatics. We got to put them in parasympathetic around it. We got to help them relax. And so we took the FLOWpressos to these 2 sites to allow the client base to be supported around the dental work. And everybody's so appreciative of the fact they don't have to take their clothes off. There's nobody in the room with them. And they get 40 minutes of deep relaxation. We also use the amazing Happy Horizons essential oil called Serenity with Flow to incite the aromatherapy to get the brain to relax a little bit. And then we also use, and some of you can now see why, I couldn't find somebody in a New Zealand accent, but I use an Australian accent, a woman who has affirmations of self-love and positive affirmations of self-love, and to give everybody a little from over on that side of the world to bring that energy piece in, because Desiree, I know we could all listen to you speak all day long, and she says such beautiful things, but she says them in such a beautiful way with her accent. And also you can all hear her beautiful heart and her true found passion in what she's done. Beyond passion, her devotion to what she's put together with FLOWpresso as a gift for all of us to be able to be in that place that it took her so long to get to, so she can help others achieve it faster. And I think there was a little bit of it, she did it for herself so she could also experience it, because she really likes being in the suit too. You know?
If I'm honest, I'm in it every week, yes. It helps me keep my energy load up to, you know, and I've had no heart issues since I've been able to get in it every week. So, you know, I mean, you know, that could have happened naturally, but I certainly can't. I sustain a very high level of workload. So I run a clinic and I've got research going left, right and center, and I've got all this going on with the suits, and then we're in more research now, and we're looking at the next thing to develop, and I'm still a mom, and you know, a partner, and yeah,
and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but
and
you know,
so you know, we could talk for hours, so we'll let the rest of them go. But I would like to say, is there any lasting words you would like to offer in regards to FLOWpresso, or anything else you would like to gift the world with a bit of your wisdom that I always reach out for you and get myself? What do you feel is right for them to all hear?
You know what? I think everyone's, we're using this analogy, you got this. So that can be an exclamation mark, or that can be a statement. And I think everyone has got it. They've just disconnected so much that they've forgotten who or what that is anymore. And this year has been about learning, you know, what does that mean for you? What's important to you? What do you value? And where is your heart in all this? Because for here in New Zealand, we believe that the heart is the gateway to the soul. So the heart is about you connecting to the wairua, the spirit of who you are. And life has all thrown us, me included, you know, over the years, where you've seeked out something that you think you need to be complete. And I think, you know, more than ever right now, it's finding what that means for you. And, you know, I was never one about going to find yourself. I used to say, well, I'm standing right here. What are you talking about? But this is more about, you know, just take a breath, take a moment. And, you know, you have got this, you know, but if you haven't got it, then find others, or find, you know, see if there's someone in FLOWpresso that can help you just get in there and have a moment with you and see what that means. I mean, when people drift off, they do their own thing in it. We just let them. We let them snore, or we let them, you know, just lie there in peace. I mean, it's all about you and for that moment. And I just think we need to be thinking more about, where's my heart, the heart of who I am. And that's why the Sounds of Soul is so great too, is just, you know, coming back to your center again. What is your balance? I think just ask yourself, where is your balance, and do you have it?
Well, my episode 8 and episode 15 of my Beats with Kelly Kenny is now complete, because we now have Sound the Soul and FLOWpresso. Really, the purpose for me getting this out there is to get the word out so people can understand how to force themselves to get in that parasympathetic, so they can open their heart in an easy way. Because from our hearts, truly, to yours, we want that for every person listening to this, watching this. The greatest gift I've ever given myself is to follow my heart and to not care what I thought about it or what anybody else thought about it. And I am blessed that every single day I get to do that and help others do that. And then so much of that is because of you, Des.
Thank you.
And I have a lot of gratitude for you. And everybody's listening to this going, oh my God, she's crying again. This is like the third one she's cried on. But you have to understand, it's her fault. She helped me open my heart. It's all her fault. And now I can't stop. And I would never stop after this passion, because trust me, it's not easy. There are lots of days that it's a lot of work and it's an uphill battle, and we have to educate and we have to invest a lot of time, money, energy into what we're doing. But it's worth it for those moments when we get to see those clients stand up and go, I have not felt this good in years, and I'm more connected to myself than I ever have. That's the gift.
Yeah, it is.
And that's what we want you all to have. And Desiree is the big gift giver for us in creating an incredible device to allow us to get there. And if not, If it's not near you, again, you can find one near you by reaching out to us. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you share this with your friends. Please get the word out there. Help us get the word out there. We ask you to do that with us. We can't do this alone. We need all of you out there working and talking and educating others about what you know it to be true. And we thank you, Desiree, and from our heart to yours, be on the next beat.
Thank you.